Nice. Hey everybody, please hop on real quick and see if we can get the show on the road. I'm over here in Gondola, and I'd love for you to swing and sling this broadcast around to people that you think would be interested in this conversation. I need to make sure, first of all, that we are loud and clear, and then we can proceed. I will not keep you long. I will try and keep it under 15 minutes, and within that time frame, we can get this. Hey, Stacy B, I see you. Thank you, Stacy. Please tell me in the broadcast, in the comments, if this broadcast is clear. I'm in a hotel room over here in Indola, Gondola, and sound loud and clear, somebody said. Let me suss it out first, and then we can proceed. We've been okay. Here it is. Everybody, please. Okay, just give me a second. Somebody says clear. Chanda says clear. Well, who else says clear? We're going to be fine. Are we winning? I think we're winning. And sound. Are we good? I think so. Loud and clear, somebody said. Good. Let me suss it out first. Wonderful. So earlier somebody said to me, as I was preparing for this broadcast, they were saying, well, you can't hold it at this time because we're going to be watching football. Guys, the currency is attention. If this is important to you, of course you'll watch it. But if you think football is more important, that's fine. You can watch this on the rewind if you want. That is only if you're interested. And I am in no way suggesting or implying that I am the be all and end all of all things entertainment and news. I'm just a tiny piece of the puzzle, okay? And I'm going to give you my eyewitness account of what happened today. I said it on my TikTok, and I'll say it again now, and you have to understand this, that if you do not look at the Chiwempala market incident today, if you don't look at it contextually, you won't understand it. This is the sort of thing that the opposition would jump on, attach a narrative to it, and just run with it. This is a story that can easily be misconstrued, be easily misunderstood, easily grow legs and just go everywhere. But the truth is in plain sight. And I'm going to share this with you. It is in plain sight. Let's begin. First of all, please tell me in the comments if you remember back in 2023, December of 2023 to be exact. It was in Chingola, Senseli mine in Chingola. Remember the 27 children, youth, young people, the small-scale miners, artisan miners they call them. 27 young people died in that mine, Senseli mine in Chingola. Do you remember that? When that happened, the government did everything within its power. They launched a rescue operation, a colossal rescue operation. Unfortunately, more than 27 people, youth, died. Everybody, they were basically buried in the ground because of their small-scale mining activity. After that incident, the government shut down Senseli mine. And this was one of the reasons HH and his administration have been pushing this idea that mining should be done legally, not illegally. Pushing this idea that mining should be done in the correct way. And any illegal activity, and as far as mining is concerned, should be shunned. It should be frowned upon, and rightfully so, because illegal mining spawns two major problems. Number one, it's risky. It is literally people deliberately placing themselves in harm's way in the name of entrepreneurship. It's dangerous, and our people are so simple-minded that when you bring out this idea that, look, illegal mining is not only dangerous, it's a careless way to live, their response is, God is the one that sustains us. He's the one that keeps us alive. Well, if that were true, why did more than 27 young people die in that tragic incident in December of 2023 in Chingola at Senseli mine? So it stands to reason that sometimes we deliberately place ourselves in harm's way, and then we somehow sugarcoat it and say that, oh no, God is the one that takes care of us. Well, that's not true. That is simply not true. When you're careless with your life, you lose your life. That's number one. Number two, illegal mining spawns this idea of warlords. When you have a situation where government takes a hands-off approach to illegal mining, what you end up having, and what ends up happening is that you begin to see barons, gold barons, that are involved in turf wars, and they become warlords for areas. Because they're making $1 from illegal mining, they're selling gold and precious minerals at top dollar. They're generating a revenue in dollars that gives them access to guns and buying cheap labor. Before you know it, warlords will begin to emerge. Before you know it, some commander will say, no, this is my territory. And I'm going to protect this Inchende at all costs. And because he's making dollars from selling gold, because he has an illegal mine, he becomes a warlord. And that activity eventually bleeds into becoming a drug baron, because this sort of lifestyle gives way, it's a segue to illegal activity, and as far as narcotics and drugs and all, it's a big mess, it's a big problem. So the government announced, Kuti, because of the tragic incident that happened in 2023, Senseli mine was closed, and because we don't want a situation where drug barons and turf lords are ruling certain areas of our country in the name of entrepreneurship when they're really just criminals. The government doesn't want that. So they put a stop to that nonsense. Now, this has everything to do with one of the reasons the young people acted the way they did today at the Chiwempala market. And I'm going to explain this. And I would ask you, please, to listen carefully to what I'm saying, okay? The reason I'm explaining this to you is because I was there today. I was there. I was right there. I was standing at the foot of the stage at the Chiwempala market. Let me bring you up to speed with the reason the president went to Chiwempala market today. You remember on Wednesday, it was announced that there was a raging fire that roared through Chiwempala market, and as a direct consequence of that fire, many of our people, young people, traders, marketeers who trade in and around the Chiwempala market area lost their goods, they lost their livelihoods, they lost their stores, and in some cases, they lost money because of this fire. Now, the fire occurred, I think, on Wednesday. The president coming to this area, it was wise, it was prudent for the head of state to tour an area that has been ravaged by fire, and which resulted in this calamity. It stands to reason, it's good wisdom for leadership to go visit an area that has been struck by tragedy. That's what leaders do. It would not make any sense whatsoever if President Hakainde Hichilema came to this area and not visit Chiwempala Market? Tell me my mic? Is something wrong with the mic? Please tell me. Stacy, is the mic fine? Stace, please tell me if the mic is fine. I need to know that the mic is fine, then I'll continue. It's working? Okay, thank you. Every so often someone will say that just to throw you off. And this is the reason it's important to ask the audience, is the mic fine? And then the people that you trust, once they say it's fine, it's fine. Okay, so what I was saying was, and please respond in the comment section, isn't that the right thing to do? The head of state coming to this area, it's prudent, it's kosher, it's correct, it's leadership for a president to visit an area that has been ravaged by calamity. And that's what the president did today. Now, it's one thing for people to go visit a ravaged area, but it's a completely different thing when you go there to offer solutions and to mend the problem and to fix the problem, as it were. So the president went there to not only visit the calamity-filled area, but he also went there to provide some level of solution to the problem. Let me now explain to you what caused that fracas, what caused that kerfuffle today. One of the privileges I have, and you can only understand this if you are a vlogger. When I got to Chiwempala Market today, the very first thing I did was I walked amongst the people, the marketeers. I was asking them, the people, the common people in there, in the market, the people that were waiting to see the president, and I was asking them, first of all, I said to them, what caused the fire? Some of them seemed to know, but many of them were not concerned about the market. The only thing they were talking about was Senseli mine. When I would ask them, I'd say, well, what do you think needs to be done in order to safeguard the market? Going forward, what do you think are the things that need to be done in order to secure the market and to protect it from things like fire? Some of them had a few things to say, but the vast majority of them were not talking about the market. They were not talking about the fire. They were just talking about Senseli mine. The young men that were there, they kept on saying to me, if Senseli mine. Turefa wakateka file batura ile file batwebele wakateka balandira ati Senseli mine bakatupera atwali mpia bachile release. If we want to know Senseli mine chilishani. The young people were saying the only thing we're concerned about is Senseli mine, because that is what helps us provide for our families. The way that they would they would dig up the ground and barrel through the ground and get these precious stones, whether it be gold or precious gems, and they would sell those at top dollar. As far as these young people were concerned, that's the only thing that provides them a living. So the market, the burning of the market, was of no concern to them. What I was hearing from them was, when the president arrives, we are going to say to him, what is the deal with Senseli mine? We want to have access to that mine. The spark that set into motion the unfortunate set of events that occurred today, The spark was there was a district official, a UPND official, that stood up to speak before the president spoke. And guys, this is the reason I think people in leadership should echo what the president is saying. UPND chairman and district Jakuti, they should echo what the president is saying. They should not come up with their own solutions. So when a district chairman is a UPND district chairman is addressing the people, his language must be what the president is going to say. He should not deviate from the president's core message. And this is how you know something is wrong. Whenever an official, a kada, a chairman, speaks to the people and they begin to cheer in approval, because when this district, I think it was a district chairman or something, he stood up and he was talking, he began to talk about Senseli mine. The president today was not there to talk about Senseli mine. The agenda, the goal, the objective of President Hakainde Hichilema's visit to Chiwempala market today was to address the issue of that calamity and possibly provide solutions for the Chiwempala market incident. The president did not go to Chiwempala to discuss the Senseli mine. That was not the reason he went there. But this man, he stood up and he made reference to Senseli mine. He worked the crowd into a frenzy, implying that the president was going to do what the people had asked him to do, in as far as that mine is concerned, which is not the case. Because the president has made it very clear, no illegal mining. No illegal mining. Why? Because the president does not want a repeat of December 2023, where more than 27 youth died as a direct consequence of illegal mining. And you remember, it took days. It was a huge operation trying to save those kids. Every last one of them died because of illegal mining. So the president said, moving forward, we are not going to encourage a situation where illegal mining is tolerated. You have to do it the correct way. So that district youth chairman or something, he was pandering to the crowd. He was basically implying to the youth at Chiwempala market today, and this is the reason they applauded in approval. If you watch the video, you'll see that was the only time the whole crowd was joyful and applauding, because this district representative from the UPND was telling the group, was telling the crowd, was telling the youth that this president is going to give you what you want, in as far as Senseli is concerned. But the president was not there for that. What added more injury was when the provincial Copper Belt minister stood up and he tried to allay, he tried to bring down the anxiety of the crowd by saying the president's agenda today in as far as the market is concerned, one of the things that the president is going to do today is he's going to announce an assistance of 10 million kwacha towards partial reconstruction of the stands that were burnt, towards giving certain people a form of grant to give them a leg up so that they can sort of revitalize their businesses. When the provincial minister made that announcement, Kuti, 10 million kwacha is going to go towards a Chiwempala market. You should have heard the crowd. That announcement landed on deaf ears. They were not enthusiastic about that 10 million because they were not concerned about the market. The only reason they were there was to hear about Senseli. When the provincial minister made that announcement, Kuti, this administration is going to donate 10 million kwacha. They were not concerned about that 10 million. How if I talk to a 10 million yara chief yara wamba 10 million. If I talk to a 4 official say mine, not if I'm and if you. Now, in that environment, the provincial minister added and said, no, Vane, if you are illegal mining, this administration is clear, is crystal about illegal mining. There will be no illegal mining, only legal mining. That's when now Fiambo Kupena, because now the youth started looking at the provincial minister as so that you are not going to give us that mine. You are saying that it was illegal. That's where the skirmishes began. Now, at this point, I know this because I was there. I could see it. I could see in clear Dolby sound, IMAX color, full color, what was going on because I was standing right at the stage area. It was at this stage where a few of the youth started becoming unruly, and then security, the police, the parapolice, and State House security decided in that moment to remove some of the youth that was standing on top of the buildings at the Chiwempala market. Now, you have to understand that Chiwempala market, once you enter once you enter Chiwempala market through the main street that takes you to the market, it's like a fortress in there. It's like an enclosure. It's like a close, for those of you that have been there. And having young people standing on top of buildings that are surrounding the pavilion and the platform where the president was speaking from is a very dangerous situation for any head of state. So when the security began to sense that, there was a bit of unrest because the youth today at the market started hearing that the Senseli mine was not going to be given back to them in the way that they wanted. Then they realized that the president's visit was not to address them concerning Senseli. The president's visit today was to talk about the market. That's when the unrest began. It was at that point that the security decided to remove the youth that was standing on top of the buildings because that's a security concern. You never want a situation where the head of state, a president of any country, is speaking to a crowd and then there are people standing at an elevated position or an elevated vantage point looking down at the head of state. I mean, anybody can do anything. And that's the mistake the security made. They should have dealt with that before the president arrived. Those are the security measures that State House security and state police have to look into way before the president arrives. But they started doing that when they began to sense that there was a bit of unrest. They started now frantically removing those young boys on top of the roofs. That added to the uncomfortability of it. And then it was in the midst of that where kids were now jumping off the roof and they were running. It was in the midst of that where a few unruly youth who were high, they were drunk, because I saw them. They were irate. These are youth that just have absolutely no life. Okay, these are kids that they don't care about tomorrow. It was just a handful of them, maybe 6 or 7 of them, that started picking up rocks and then tossing them at the stage. Can you think of a more irresponsible thing to do? I mean, I can't, honestly, really, in my 56 years of living, I cannot think of anything more irresponsible than picking up a stone because you're high and you're drunk, and because the people in front, the people at the podium, are not saying what you want them to say. So as a direct consequence, you pick up a rock and you throw it in the general direction of the head of state. That is the most daft thing I have ever heard in my life. I'm very pleased to report to you, because I saw this, I'm very pleased to report to you that those few irate, unruly young men who caused that confusion, they were immediately taken by air. I say it. It ended just as quickly as it started. When the confusion began, I mean, I was fearful. I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. When you are in that situation, you don't know how far the escalation will go. You know, in America, they've got like DEFCON 4, DEFCON 3, DEFCON 2, and DEFCON 1. When you reach DEFCON 1, it means the country's at war. So when you're in the frenzy of that activity, you don't know how far the escalation will go. I mean, I wasn't sure if we were going to make it out alive. I ran. There's a video I posted not too long ago. I was making a beeline. I was literally walking swift. I didn't want to run because I didn't want people to, mwewa. I didn't want, young people that had a grudge against me to take that opportunity to see me running and say, so I very quickly, briskly walked to the car, but I was quick about it. And I got to the car, and there was a young guy who was just begging me for a selfie, and I didn't want to push him away because I didn't want to attract attention. So I let him take the selfie. I said, sure. And I was trying to be as calm as possible. I said, sure, take the selfie. And he kept on taking several selfies. And I kept saying, sure, that's fine. That's okay. Okay, Wei, thank you. And I closed the door. Short time after that, the moment I closed the door, by the time I was closing the door, the situation had already been contained. Contained! The police had already done their job. The fire, in as far as kerfuffle, the kafwafa had been contained. By the time they salado, I think about 10 or 12 by that time, of course, when there's any type of kerfuffle, the objective is to make sure that the head of state is secure and moved out of the vicinity of danger. Understand this, guys. I don't want you to think, don't be misled by these politicians who use words like, no, HH was chased. Nobody was chased. No, HH ran away. Nobody ran away. It's like you, if you're in the jungle and a lion begins to run towards you and you start running from the lion, would it be correct for someone to say, but why did you run? Well, you're trying to move away from the danger. You're trying to maintain distance between you and danger. And the issue here is that anytime that there's an indication of any type of danger, the objective is to make sure that the head of state is secure and moved out of that area, away from the danger. That's what happened. But of course, in Zambia, it's very easy for people to oversimplify the issue and to say things like, no, wali batancha, no, that you're oversimplifying the issue. So to wrap it up, let me just say this. Let me say this, and then please hear me when I say this. There were several things I think that the state needed to do. Because, sometimes in politics, I said this earlier and I'll say it again, please forgive my repetitiveness. Sometimes in politics, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. Can you imagine if President Hakainde Hichilema came to this area, near the Chingola area, and he didn't go to Chiwempala? Can you imagine if the head of state decided not to go to Chiwempala after that tragic fire that ruined the lives of many of our people? What would people have said? Bakateka baisa kuno. He didn't even come. He didn't even come to check on us. The president came here, but he didn't come to console us. He didn't come to check on us, which means he doesn't care about us. That is what people would have said had he not gone there. But here it is, the head of state went there to specifically deal with Chiwempala market fire. The agenda of most of those people who were there, they wanted to know where the issue of Senseli mine stands. But the president was not there for Senseli mine. He went there to tell the people, we are sorry for your loss. We've heard this tragic thing has happened to you. And as a way of providing an element of solution, we are going to give 10 million kwacha towards this issue. Iyo 10 million kwacha, that announcement landed with a hollow thud. Those chaps, what have I tell you? The bachelor for no kumfefia 10 million. Bachelor fear your 10 million mulelumbu, let I quit an enchito. If ever to the fire pano, Busha Senseli mine, Mwala to pele, Tamwa to pele. Not your 10 million mulelumbu, Labakateka. Now, can you imagine? That is what I mean by saying, damned if you do, and damned if you don't. That is the nature of politics. It is an insatiable animal. All you gotta do is what you know what is right to do. And in my view, the president was in the right frame of mind. He was there to provide solutions. I've seen many people go to Chiwempala market just to offer solidarity. Just to go there, just to say, oh, na tumfuati pali problem. Na tumfuati mwalisha imbabula oni. Ama ntwanika nyama kando ya yoka tuishinga makandeo mwalishire oni mbawula oni market yapya. We are sorry for your loss. Chapwile na pupe. They don't even provide any solutions. They just go there to appear for political purposes. Now here you've got the head of state who went there not only to console the people of Chiwempala market, but he also provided an element of solution. We are going to give 10 million kwacha towards the reconstruction of some stalls, and also to provide a grant to those of you who have lost money and property as a leg up to assist you through this difficult time. My goodness. Abana Chiwempala that for you 10 million mulelum let I quit nchito. If you to refer to Senseli mine. That was where the problem is. It was. So, in my view, I think, and also it's important to point out that I saw a few PF guys in the crowd. No one bothered those chaps. Nobody. You think that could happen in the PF days? You think if the PF were in power and a UPND chap showed up at that type of arrangement, he dressed in a UPND t-shirt, ushe kuti bamuchita mbwino, kuti bamupanya, kuti bamulya kumona ameno balya bachibaula, bamocha nokocha. But there was I saw a few chaps in PF regalia. Free, alenda fye. Alemeka n'okumeka pakwenda leti fye. Aletangala n'okutangala pakwenda. Mu PF kuti bakupanya. Wafwala HH. T-shirt yako HH. Muntu animulya. Tete bakupanye. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. Thanks for watching. Good night.